Hey boaters, Keith McGowan here. I am the Outboard Dad, here to help you have a better boating experience. Today we're going to continue on and hopefully finalize this 250 horsepower Yamaha OX66 rebuilt, two-stroke. And the question remains, will it be tougher to do the four-stroke? I think so, but we're going to do the four-stroke next. We have a four-stroke 150 horsepower, so a smaller horsepower motor with less cylinders. It's only got 4 cylinders instead of 6, and we're going to go do a teardown on that next that had milky oil and had low compression on the bottom cylinder and also was starting to lock up a little bit. So I was able to get it going and get it running. You can watch that in previous videos, but we're doing that comparison, two-stroke, four-stroke rebuild. Is it worth it to still do the rebuild on a 1998 two-stroke outboard motor? Is it worth it to do the rebuild on a 2006 four-stroke outboard? This video today is brought to you by the Ansel MR500 diagnostic tool. You can click in the description below for your discount code from the Outboard Dad if you're buying your diagnostic tool for Yamaha, Suzuki, or Mercury outboards. The one that I have here that I've gone through is the Yamaha model. So any questions you have about that, please like, subscribe, send me those comments, or shoot me an email at keith@outboarddad.com. Don't forget my used outboard motor buying guide, still for sale on Amazon for $20. It's not a deep dive into any specific motor, but it does give you the high points that you need to check that I've seen people miss, and that cost them thousands. And they always say, I wish I had that book before I bought this boat. So we got all the pistons in. We have all our connecting rods and caps lined up, right? And we rotated, everything looks good. Now we got torque. But before we torque, we got to know what torque to torque it to, right? So let's get our torque wrench out. Depending on where I put it last. So I am old school. I've used this torque wrench for years. It's a Craftsman I got when I was in high school. So we're going to go ahead and connect our socket to it. 8mm 12-point socket, so that we know we have enough range of motion here to get a good torque on this. So let's check our book. And go to our power head specifications, which is where we got our ring gaps and everything, and I think the last page after that was torque specs. So let's see, the dirtiest one is the ones that I've been in, and of course, engine torque specifications. So let's go through our horsepower ratings. And so this is crankcase to cylinder, connecting rod bolts, 225, 250. Says 45 Newton meters. I happen to have Newton meters, so I'm going to write it down here, 45. So 45 Newton meters. Let's write it down right here. 45 Nm. So we know we have 45 Newton meters is what we're looking for. Pretty straightforward. Some instructions will tell you that you need to torque it down first, halfway, whatever. I like to go halfway first. What I'm going to do is I feel very slight ridge in this, so I'm going to go ahead and just loosen a little bit. Remember, I didn't tighten these too much, but I'm going to loosen both of them. And I'm going to hold it in place to make sure they're lined up properly, and crank one first and then the second one. And I'm going to do it again until I feel like I have it lined up perfectly the way it needs to be. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go to halfway. So 20, about 20 first to start with. It's not a crazy amount of torque for this. Now I'm going to go to 30. Now what I'm going to do before I go any further is I'm going to take my edge here and I'm going to make sure it's not skipping, right? It's nice and smooth. I can go on the sides too, each side. Now it's even better to do with a pencil, because if I take a pencil and do this, right, I can see if there's any shavings, right? And it should glide smoothly back and forth. We'll do the same thing on the other side. And now I know that that's lined up nicely and I can do my finished torque. .40. Probably could have gone right to 45, but 40. And there's 45. All right, now this torque wrench has a specific handle on it, right? It's wobbly. So when I'm turning this, I'm not going one way or the other. I'm keeping it centered while I'm turning it. So you see me, it's just because I'm getting old or every week, I don't know, but I just want to hold it in place so I'm, from this point is where I'm pulling from. I don't want to pull from this point or from this point. I want to pull from that center point to get an accurate reading. So let's torque the rest of these down, and then we'll start cleaning up for our crankcase cover, which also holds together all of our bearings and everything all together. Okay, so now that everything's torqued the way we want it to be, we're just going to give it another rotation a couple times just to make sure everything is where it needs to be. I'm going to shine my light inside just to make sure everything looks the way it should. Just going to take a little lube on a spot that looks like it maybe got missed. I don't think it did, but this looks a little dry. Again, I don't want anything to corrode up as this, because this is going to sit for a period of time. So I just want to be sure. Guess I can always spray a little fogging oil in there too, if we want to. It's like a dry spot. Oh, it's not dry anymore. So I just like to look around and make sure everything's well lubricated, right? Everything seems to be in place the way it needs to be. My crankshaft is sat down all the way. We have our cap on here with the 2 bolts in it. So now we're ready to put this cap on, but we need to kind of clean it first, right? Looks like I got some oil in these pockets here when I was oiling up. So shouldn't hurt anything, but just want to, this all has to be nice and dry for it to work properly. So we're going to use a special sealer on here. Well, it's not really that special, but it's a Loctite product. Red Loctite basically is what it is. A couple different manufacturers make it. I just have it in quantity at Loctite 518. This is OMC. What OMC's part number is the Loctite. It's a red Loctite gel, and we're going to put it on these surfaces, and we're going to dab it to make it look like stucco, so that when we put the cap on, we have a nice seal all the way around this. So since we have oil everywhere, I'm going to take my dirty rag first and give it a good wipe down. Just all the surfaces that I'm going to put that sealer on, I want to make sure as clean as possible. And then I'm going to spray a little bit of brake cleaner on it. And then we'll take another rag that's cleaner than this one, because this one's obviously oily from me working. Going to get the heavy stuff off with this one, and then we will clean it further with the next rag. But first we're going to take the cover out of the box here where we've got it wrapped up nice and clean, and clean it up in our parts washer. So it still has the bolts in it, so we'll get them out. I have all my bolts lined up over here that are going to put this together. So I'm not putting reed plates or anything in this. He has all of those parts. So we're going to clean up these surfaces. We have a nice little gear here for our, whoops, don't lose that, and bushing for our oil pump that's in really good shape. So we want to make sure we lubricate this up really well before we put it back in. So put that aside. We do have some tubing in here we're going to, blast through. I want to make sure that the tubing is nice and clean. So let's go ahead and clean this up now. We still have our nice clean spot here on our bench, so let's clean up this. I don't want you guys to see, but I don't want to get the stuff on my camera either. I'm going to take a new piece of sand cloth. This one looks new enough. And we'll start with our top surfaces. It's nice to have the brush. We'll get the heavy stuff off first. Heavy stuff up off the outside of the casing as well, because I don't want any of that dirt getting into the engine, right? So my parts washer has Aussie juice in it. So if you've heard me talk about it at all, I had a good buddy of mine, Sean, that has had an auto repair shop most of his life. He's been doing auto repair. Seasoned, expert mechanic, professional. And he told me that I was using Safety Clean and that stuff is nasty. And I should get away from it. So I took his advice and did some research. And found out how correct he really was, or confirmed what he had said. So now I use the Aussie juice. So this stuff is supposedly biodegradable. You can dump it down the drain when you're done. I don't know about that, but so the bottom part is the one or this surface is the surface we're most concerned about. I mean, they both have to be clean for everything to go back together. But there's some remnants here of the old sealer, the old stuff, that we want to make sure we get cleaned off so that our surfaces meet properly, because this is a perfectly machined surface that has to line up. And we want to make sure there's no debris. Sometimes there's a little debris left over from that old piston that failed. A lot of it ends up going out the exhaust, but we just want to make sure there's nothing in the way here. So I'm going to go ahead and take my little scraper first, which is simply a piece of, or a razor blade. And I'm going to obviously take the heavy stuff off first. Most times this sealer comes off pretty easily. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's just the sealer coming off of it. It is red when it comes out of just like red Loctite when it comes out of the tube. So some of the stuff that's on here still has a little reddish tint to it. Sometimes it's built up on the edges, so I want to make sure I get the buildup off. You can see the film comes right off. So the razor blade gets most of it, and you'll see there is some machining marks in here too. We want those to stay. We're also going to hit this with some sand cloth, which will make some more very slight scratches in it, and that'll give a place for the sealer to set in so it doesn't all just ooze out, right? I don't think that's got most of it. We'll give it a flush. Flush in a brush. Now let's see. Take some sand cloth. It's hard to rip when it gets wet. Makes it strong. And we're going to go through it all. And any of those little spots that you didn't get with the razor blade. So now what I'm going to do is where my bearings line up. There's usually some corrosion in there, especially on the bottom here where the seal meets. So we want to clean that up as well. Where the sealing rings meet, we want to give a good clean. Sometimes a little sealer ends up in there. So we want to make sure we get anything that could be in there out. And where the other bearing surfaces meet. And sometimes the oil cakes up, a two-stroke oil or something cakes up and leaves some deposits. We just want to clean it all out so everything comes together neatly and nothing binds up. And then on our top, where our top bearing and seal meets. right, so let's give it another flusheroni. All those little cinders and grit pieces that we just got in there from our sand cloth, we want to make sure we clean off. In every groove and hole. Sometimes some of that sealer makes its way into the bolt holes. All right, now we can turn it over. Make sure we did get this nice and clean. Also, some of the cleaner now has sat on it for a little while, so maybe it'll break off some more. Here's where our gear goes in for our two-stroke oil pump for our oil injection. Now we got the top here. So this was pretty clean because the type of gasket that they use really is like has kind of a metal gasket with like a foam layer on each side. So it doesn't really stick to it very much. So it's usually not too much to clean off on this. We just want to make it a nice clean surface for when Brad puts it back together. He can just wipe it down with a little brake clean and be done. So nothing too much here. It's already pretty clean. Little cinders out. All right. That's nice. Okay, so that's nice. Now, what I want to do next here is I want to pull this tube off and get a pair of pliers. So these are some of the bleeder tubes that help transfer some of the excess oil and fuel to help keep things lubricated well. So I want to squirt this out and make sure it comes out the bottom, and it does. And I want to squirt out of here, make sure it comes out. Now I'm going to just do the whole thing. All of my surfaces. It's good to wear safety glasses when you do this, dummy, because it sprays in your face. So I'm doing a couple things right here. I'm flushing out, cleaning out the parts washer cleaner, because sometimes it's a water base and it could, no flash rust on aluminum, but gives it an extra level of cleanliness. Now the other thing I want to do is hook this tube back up that we took off. And then there's all the other bleed lines that get connected here I'm going to flush. Making sure it goes through all the way. Now we know that that's nice and clean. We clean both sides and the outside. Give it a nice brake clean hose down. Now we could kind of use the air compressor to spray this off, but I'm just going to take it over to the bench and we'll go ahead and give it a good wipe down. So I'm most concerned about the gasket surface areas, but I want to get everything cleaned out inside and out, dried out as best we can. I don't want anything dripping down into the sealer when we get it sealed up. And also want to make it look pretty. The brake clean will clean off all these outside surfaces so that when we paint this block, and yes, we're going to paint it for him, the paint will stick better, right? Because we put that brake cleaner on there. Sometimes it kind of etches the old paint a little bit, and it sticks better. I'll give her a flip. Everything looks nice and clean. That's what we like to see. Now remember, this rag was kind of oily, so I'm going to put that one aside. And we're going to take a nice clean rag and some brake cleaner and just get this surface where we're going to put our sealer nice and clean and dry. So now we know that this surface is ready to go. So now we just want to clean off the surface of our block now. Now what I'm going to do is just a little light spritzins on there, and then I'll clean the outside part first, right? See the dirt? And then I'll get closer because it's oily where it's closer. Keep changing my spot on my rag. And then we'll do it one more time. I'm going to do the other side. I'll change the spot on our rag, and we'll do the other. Do it again. This way we get it nice and clean. We have a good seal. See that? Got a piece of sealer came off of there from the old stuff. That's what we want. Nice and clean. All right. That's looking pretty good. So I am going to take a little bit of silicone on my two O-rings here. If you remember, that's what I did when I put them together. Just a little extra. Again, very, very thin layer. Just a little extra protection, precaution. Also, when I put the cap on, it keeps it from grabbing that O-ring and pinching it. It slides in instead. So we'll do that, but we'll do that after we get our sealer set up. Before we get our sealer set up, we have to put our gear in place, right? So we took our gear out of here, and we want to get our famous lube again out. And we want to get that gear in the lube. And we want to take that, I'm going to put a little inside here. Put a little inside the hole on the end where it goes in. And then we have our little washer that goes on next that came off, and then we have our little seal that goes in place here. So now that's ready to go. Now, since I got my fat fingers all over it, I'm going to take my other rag again and a little brake cleaner just on the surface again, just to make sure I didn't get any spots, grease on them, because I'm getting ready to seal this up really good. All right. Okay. Now we're ready for our sealer. So this takes a little bit, and what's nice about this is, even though it takes a little bit of time, it doesn't dry on you until you get the pieces all together. So let's do our silicone first, because that doesn't dry very fast either. I'm not too concerned about that. Now, technically you don't have to do this. I know guys that just oil up their O-rings, but I'm concerned about oil squeezing out into my seal and having a bad seal in the long run. That's why I do it this way, and this is the way I was taught to do it over the years by the experts that know more than me. So just a thin, thin layer. Nothing crazy at all. Got a little on the surface there, we'll take that off. And that's all she wrote for that. All right, we popped the silicone on here, and now we got to get the sealer on the rest of the way. I was showing Marty this rebuild so he sees what I do when I do rebuilds. So now we're going to go ahead and put this on the surfaces. We'll show you how this works. So like I said, it's a Loctite gel, so we want to squeeze some out here. And then what we're going to do is spread it out. I made sure I cleaned off my glove really good. And we're going to spread it out. Make sure we get everything nice and coated. The goal here is I don't want a deep red color like this on everything. Kind of want a pink on everything. Nice layer. Because we're going to do the same thing on the block side. So we want it evenly coated. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do this. And make it like a stucco. Right, once we get it all evened out here. So those of you that wanted longer videos, you want to watch me do this, that's fine with me. So I don't want it getting inside the block, right? Just want to get it on these surfaces. And then we're going to stucco it up a little bit. And we do the other side. So there's a little groove here where it looks like a little oil passage. I want to make sure I don't fill that up with any sealer. And we'll stucco it up. Might be a little heavy right here. We'll spread it out a little bit. Stucco it up. Might be a little heavy here. All right, now we're going to get it on this side, on our block. I will stucco this up. Didn't get it in there too much. A little thick right there. A little thick right here. Still a little thick. That's better. So I'm making sure I'm covering all the surfaces. See, I kind of leave this part last because if I get excess I can wipe it off on that, because that's not as crucial, especially as around here, around my crank. I want to make sure this crankcase is sealed. But remember, on two strokes we pressurize our crankcase to force the fuel up the ports into the combustion chamber. little excess there we'll put over here. All right. This is just about ready to go together. So as I'm doing this, I'm thinking about, torqued all my head bolt, or torqued all my connecting rod bolts. Did everything else get done? Did I miss anything? We got our gear ready to go. Looks like she's ready to go together. Got our bolts ready so we can start torquing as soon as we get it together. So now we can put our two halves together. Everything looks to be in place where it should be. And we'll line this up. Nice. So what I'm going to do now is take the bolts. I did clean all of the major bolts here that hold my, they kind of go around the crankshaft, right? So I want to get a little lube on it. I don't want them to be over lubricated because I don't want it oozing into the sealer, but I do want the threads to be nice and smooth going together. Now we have painted one here, right? Painted one here, and painted one top and bottom, so we put them back the same way they came. And now we can go ahead and get these cranked down. They should go down nice and easy. And now we got to get our book to look up the torque specifications. $14 millimeters. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go caddy corner just to snug them up with the super snuggles. There's a pin here on each corner, so I know I need to just collapse over that pin, not collapse, just bring it down over the pin so I can make sure both surfaces on both sides meet up nicely, and then go caddy corners the other way. I can see through my intake now to my nice connecting rods. It's so beautiful. Love it when a fresh motor's coming together. And now we'll caddy corner these. I'm happy they're going in nice and smooth. Alright, so I'm just going to give caddy corner on each one evenly. And there is a pattern to follow. Most times you start in the middle with Yamaha and work your way out, but let's look in the book and see what she says. So here we are back to our dirty pages that I get my grease all over. For my specifications, engine torque specifications, crankcase to cylinder block bolts, that's what we want. So we go down here to 250. So our 6mm bolts and our 10mm bolts. So our 10mm bolts are 40 Newton meters. 6mm bolts are the small ones that go in here. We'll put them in after. We'll get these torqued down. And I think it's time for lunch. So 40 Newton meters. So not too much different from our connecting rod bolts. Now I do remember the sequence, so I'm not going to look in the book because the sequence is starting from the middle and working your way out. And I'm going 20 first. And we'll go 30. And now we'll go to 40. Double check. I'll double check one more time. All right, so now we have all the small bolts need to go in here. Let's not drop any bolts in here. That would not be kosher. And then we also have the last two for our cap that need to go in. See, dropsies happen to all of us. So we'll get this cap in here first, get these bolts tight. So we got new seals in top and bottom on the crankshaft. Got new O-rings in. Now we'll get these all tight. Just going to meet them all up first, and then we'll hook up our torque wrench and torque them down. So if you remember, we ran a tap through all of these, and that's why they're also going together so easily. Because we cleaned all the threads out of everything. We cleaned all the bolt threads. This way everything's nice and clean. Okay, so we'll finish torquing the rest of these down. Cover this up so we don't drop anything in here. Not that I've ever done anything like that before. And in our next episode, we're going to work on the head. So we're going to flip this block over. We didn't clean the heads yet either, so we're going to, I think we did the surfaces, but we need to clean them up the rest of the way and get our head gaskets ready. And then this motor will be ready to go. So please like, subscribe, send any comments that you have. Don't forget to click in the description for your discount, Outboard Dad discount code for your Ansel MR500 diagnostic tool. Have a great day.